Guys, 1 year. I have now been with the Vive for 1 solid year. 365 days ago, I unboxed the Vive in front of you guys for the first time on Twitch, and it has been absolutely amazing ever since then. I did not start this with the expectation or even really the desire to start a YouTube thing that has sort of grown. Actually, just today, I hit over 9,000.
Over 9,000!
Over 9,000 subscribers. 9,000 of you people have decided to stick around and just have fun over the past year and have fun with the Vive and just, sort of just experience these things together of sorts, or at least the best that I'm able to manage it. So guys, thank you so much. This has been so much fun. I did not expect any of this. I didn't go into the first unboxing as, oh, I want to be a YouTuber. That's not how this worked for me. It was, I had a Vive early and I wanted to show you guys, and so I did. And then you guys wanted to see more, and then this was all live streaming, and then some of you were like, hey, I don't have time to watch the live streams, can you upload it to YouTube? I'm like, sure, why not? And then it just sort of evolved from there. So it has been so much fun. So thank you to you, every single one of you. You guys have given me one of the most enjoyable hobbies that I could have ever imagined. So thank you so much. All right, but that's not what this video is really about. Like, I am taking a second to celebrate that, but really what this is about is talking about this. And I'm taking it back to the old style where, it's just me sitting and talking with you guys, because that's just, I don't know, seems like the appropriate thing to do after a year. All right, let's get into this. I expect that the single most dire question that anybody would have for somebody after having this thing for a year is, am I as excited about it now as I was whenever I got it way back when? The answer is no. And I know for all you people that are, diehard VR fans, you're like, no, say it isn't so tribal. But guys, really, I mean, take a step back and think about it, right? Even millionaires get bored after a while. What I'm saying is that the initial flair that I had and the anticipation for VR, specifically for the Vive, has, it's become more of just a natural day-to-day thing. So it's not as mind-blowing whenever I go in and play the same game that I played, 12 months ago. It's just not there anymore. The experience has already been had. That isn't to say that there is a single itty-bitty tiny reduction in how excited I am for every new experience, right? The last video that I had, Island 359, it was the first time I played in this particular game mode, and it was still so amazing to have a Triceratops charge at me, and that feeling is real still, right? It is still so incredibly intense whenever those situations happen. But whenever I think about the Vive, it's not like I used to, right? So if anybody tells you, or anybody asks, is it as exciting a year later? Obviously not, because you've already had VR for a year. To follow that up with another question, am I as excited for the future as I was a year ago? Right? Because, a year ago, we all were bright-eyed and bushy-tailed about what was going to be happening for VR over the next year. And so, am I as excited now as I was a year ago? The answer to that is also no. I am so much more excited for the future now. I mean, really, the stuff that we've been able to do, even with this exact same unit, and now I get it, right? Wave-based shooter after wave-based shooter, we've had our fill of them. But the reason why I'm excited for this is not because I've seen a tremendous amount of advances in the games. There have been a few that just shine, but for the most part, my excitement is from what I'm seeing in sort of like the behind the scenes, the stuff on Twitter, the things that people are doing with cameras, with the trackers, with everything else. What is coming is still so much more intense and just absolutely mind-blowing. This is my expectation than what we have right now. This is great, right? And somebody else pointed out on Barnacles' channel that this is just a glorified Wii wand or Wiimote, whatever. And I mean, while I don't agree with that, this is so much more, because it just is, right? That's all there is to it. But still, this right here only gives us a certain amount of ability to interact in the world. It does a fantastic job, but in not too much longer, we are going to have full fingers. We're going to be able to do all these other things, and eventually we will be able to feel virtual reality. We will be able to smell it, to walk around in it, and not just with teleportation. So no, I am not as excited as I was. I am more excited because this is going to be the future of entertainment, right? We are just now on the very, very tip of what VR is. Like right now, it's just we're strapping like glasses to our headset and we'll walk around and we're able to use a little trigger to pick things up. That is not enough, right? So guys, there has been nothing over the past year that has diminished any of my excitement. It is just the opposite. One of the things that's been kind of most interesting to me over the past year is how we've changed our way of thinking about things. Going into VR, a lot of people had expectations, a lot of people had misconceptions about what VR and what good VR games are going to be. And the most interesting thing is whenever we first got into VR, and for a long time after the launch of it, everybody was gung-ho. You can never, ever, ever use thumbpad for movement. You must teleport, otherwise you get sick, right? And I'll admit it, I was actually in that camp for them. Okay, I wasn't fully in that camp because I believe that there should have been like options for everybody. And then Onward came along, right? And they just completely blew that out of the water. And then now we're all like this. All over the place. That is us all day long. So it's really interesting how our conceptions about VR has changed, and that's just one of the things. There are so many different ways that we've discovered to use our virtual space and just explore things and just kind of break outside of the thinking of everything has to be so rigid. There are so many different ways that we can move forward with this, and even if we're still limited to just this headset and these controllers right now, there are still I cannot wait for all the different ways that we discover to play with like room boundaries and other various ways of just kind of tricking the mind and just having fun with with stuff that you can't do in reality. I think that's probably what I love the most about this past year, about what VR has done. It's not necessarily how awesome I feel while sword fighting. That is really cool, but it's all the interesting, bizarre memories that I have, right? Like I've tickled a dead werewolf. That's not something somebody says on a normal day-to-day basis, right? I've tickled a dead werewolf. In Waltz of the Wizards, I felt what it was like to have telekinetic powers. In Windlands, I was able to swing from the treetops, like a mix between Tarzan and Spider-Man, right? These are all things that you just cannot do. You cannot replicate these things outside of the virtual space. On top of all that, I actually found out that I am not a completely horrible artist in the 3D realm. I'm a trash, absolutely horrible artist whenever it comes to anything else or any other design thing. However, for whatever reason, inside of a 3D space, I'm able to make, in my opinion, some pretty interesting things, and I'll show them over here, like this dragon. This was just a one take, and it was just completely free-handed, and I'm incredibly proud of that thing. Also, this Dementor. I mean, those were things that are just off the cuff. That if I ever tried to draw that on paper, no, just forget about it. It would be absolutely nothing. All right, so what are my favorite games of the past year? I know that's probably a big question too. In no particular order, I would probably have to say Vanishing Realms, Onward, and Hollow Point. And I know Hollow Point's a pretty simplistic game, but there's just something about the activity level in that game that I just love. For demo purposes, like the most enjoyable thing I think that I've found to have new virtual reality people to is Richie's Plank Experience. If you haven't seen it, if you haven't played that game, it is so much fun to show new people that before anything else, because it is, well, it's just completely unexpected whenever you step out of that elevator. As cool as all of those experiences are, right? Those things that just cannot happen outside of the realm, and that's probably what just kind of makes me giggle and just like, I don't know, just really happy. What just gives me the most awe is how virtual reality is going to change the real world. All right, there are plenty of people around the world studying this for medical benefits, for all these other various things. I have had firsthand experience with how it can help people with fears. Right? Fear of heights. I can absolutely say that virtual reality has, I mean, if maybe not cured, because I've never, I haven't tried jumping out of a plane at this point, but there is no doubt in my mind that virtual reality has helped diminish the previous, and I wouldn't say I was like afraid of heights, but it definitely gave me a sense of unease. However, now there's nothing. I mentioned this in Barnacules' video, that I now work on the 34th floor of a building where before looking up from that high, even like 5 feet away from the edge, would have made me a little bit tense and, those butterflies. Now I have a window, a very small, narrow slit of a window right next to my little desk area, and I'm able to stick my head out of that window, and I feel no tinge of anything. And I'm not making this up at all. There is no feeling of fear or anything else, where before, I promise you, that would have absolutely sent me into a cold sweat from how intense that feeling was. So the games, the fun experiences and all that, those are amazing, and I cannot wait for the fun that that's going to have. But what I'm really, really anxious to see is the ability for us to have recordings of the real world and play them back in 3D, right? And we don't have the technology, at least, well, I've seen some prototypes, like HoloLens has started playing with this, but I want my children to be able to capture recordings of their children and play them back 20 years from then, and be able to see their children taking their first steps. I want to be able to see them have those reactions, and as if they're right there in front of them, right? So that, that's pathetic, but I'm like kind of getting emotional about that, because my children now, they're 8 and 11, and those kind of things are going to absolutely make a huge impact on our mental well-being, being able to go back and have those experiences again, and be able to keep those memories fresh, and not just a still image, and not even like a flat moving image, but be able to walk around your children, or like relive a play that your children, or a baseball game, or whatever it is. That is what gives me the absolute just sense of, I don't even know what it is. Like, awe doesn't even quite describe it, but it's just, that is what excites me. That is what makes like the entire passion for what is VR so incredibly intense for me. It's what we're going to be doing with virtual reality in 3 years, in 5 years, in 10 years. It's gonna be cool. The past year has not been all, sunshine and, farting rainbows and stuff, right? There have been some setbacks and some uncomfortable experiences and some things that, they haven't been great. The biggest disappointment, and I think everybody shares this, is the lack of large quality content items, right? And I'm not talking about large quantity. I'm talking about we haven't really had any major releases. There have been some fantastic games, do not get me wrong, but we haven't had that AAA title, or what we hoped for was AAA titles to give us, that really in-depth gameplay. There just hasn't happened yet, and that's really disappointing. I know there's some around the corner, like Fallout VR. That's probably one of the most anticipated games for me personally, because I love RPGs and all that. Star Trek Bridge Crew, that's around the corner, and that's going to be really cool for other reasons. But I'm not expecting that one to even be what I would call, like one of the main quality titles. We need those in-depth. We need those games that are going to make us play for 8, 10, 12, 50 hours, right? There hasn't been a single game that I think I've put in more than 6 hours into before I was completely done with the main storyline. Now, I've put plenty of hours into some of the multiplayer titles, but there hasn't been a single game that has had a storyline that has kept me for 6 hours yet. Another thing that's been a huge disappointment this past year is still the fragmentation between like Oculus and Vive and so many things. Like the communities are not big enough yet for us to even segment out. Whether or not I ever think that should happen, especially right now, the communities are not big enough for us to do this. Case in point, Hover Junkers. I loved that game. Okay, I absolutely loved it, but you can't really play it anymore because there's nobody online to play it with, and they never produced the single-player version the way that I expected them to. There's just that. I think Hover Junkers has actually been the biggest disappointment, and I actually called this out in what was like the top 5 launch titles. Was that I was really nervous that was going to happen, and sure enough, it did. Like it is so sad that community has died out, because the game was a lot of fun. It just didn't have enough to keep people coming back for more, and the fact that we didn't have the full Oculus community in it as well, it was just we need to come together. That's what I'm saying, right? We need to all be one group, one big happy family, and we need to have some fun together. And not all games are like that, right? There are plenty of games that are cross-platform at this point, but still, it is a very disheartening fact that we've had this issue. And on top of that, the issues with room scale versus standing, and the fact that well, I'm not going to make this into a rant. If you guys want to hear my impressions on room scale stuff, go look back about the vlog I talked about Oculus. I'm not going to go into that again, but that's been disappointing for me as well. Very, very disappointing, because I love room scale, and I want us to keep on exploring that aspect of things. Is that, the closer that we get to a holodeck, the happier that I am. That's what I want the end state for VR to be, is a full immersive holodeck, right? Everybody does. And I'm not going to keep talking about that, because it just makes me sad. All right, so enough of the reminiscing and future projections for VR for right now. I want to talk about the headset a little bit, right? And I got the Revolve head strap on here still, because I'm still testing it out. Nothing's really changed since the last review. So if you want to check that out, go look. It's in the Island 359 video. I take some time at the very end to talk about it. But anyway, talking specifically about this piece right here, the Vive itself. This thing, let's see where to start. All right, the one thing that people were really nervous about going into VR was like the tracking and everything else, because the tracking was important. Guys, after 12 months with this thing, there have been a few tracking issues where all of a sudden a controller isn't seen, but the lighthouses that I've had have continued to work. And I had the Vive Pre, right? My lighthouses don't know how to turn themselves off. Okay, they've been running for 12 months. 12 months they've been running, right? And that's the two motors going back and forth and up and down for 12 months. And still, so that is a quality item if it's able to keep going for 12 months, minus, power outages and moving. But you guys get it, right? For 12 months, those things have been going and trying to give me the best possible VR experience that it can. And so, guys, take a quick moment to celebrate the champion of virtual reality, the Lighthouse, right? Round of applause for this guy. It has absolutely made this a difference. All these little like goofy looking dimples, right? These things make VR for me possible, because it gives me the room scale, it gives me everything else that I need to fight off zombie after zombie after zombie after zombie. The other thing is comfort. This thing is trying to solve a comfort issue. I personally don't actually have a comfort issue. The way that I'm able to put on the headset, and I get it, I have a massive head, right? So the percentage of additional weight that the Vive adds onto my head compared to the average human is probably lesser. So I feel the difference less. But for the most part, I think that you're able to solve most of the issues with discomfort and the forward weight by just properly putting on the head strap. And I can go into detail on that sometime if you guys want. But the comfort for the Vive, for me personally, is not an issue. What is an issue, and what is not surprising, is the cable. Now, it is still not nearly the issue that people were thinking it was going to be whenever the Vive announced, oh, you're not going to be able to have room scale with a cable, guys, that's insane, you're going to trip all over it. No, that's ridiculous. But what is annoying is that I do know that it's there, and that I do have to untangle the cord from time to time, and it does break some of the immersion. We're working on that, though, not we, they, TPcast, they're coming out with hopefully a wireless solution that's going to be able to attach to the top and give us the ability to walk around the room and spin and do flips and do everything else. I won't be doing any flips that we currently can't do because of this tether. So this is not great. It was never great, but it's not as bad as what people were expecting. But still, we all wish that it would go away. Screen door effect. I think I have tunnel vision. Right, and it's not because of the narrow slit or the narrower field of view. I don't see the screen door effect anymore. Whenever I first got the Vive, the very first time I put it on, and you guys, if you watch the the initial impressions video that I had for the Vive, I told you I was disappointed the very first time I put on the headset. But after 5 minutes, you stop seeing the screen door effect, and you see the game around you, and you see everything else that you're able to interact with, and you stop focusing on those little details. And lastly, and I think the biggest disappointment that I have with the Vive is how it has had an impact on my hair. Nope, just kidding. It's really not the Vive's fault. I just wanted to blame something else for my hair loss. All right, so to close all this out, probably one of the most important questions for anybody that doesn't have this thing yet is it still worth it? Would I buy it now, or should you wait for the next generation? All right, so The price tag has not changed on this thing. They've given some extra perks. If you buy it, you'll get a $100 Steam credit or something else. But it's still $800 in order to support this thing. The minimum specs haven't really changed too much. There have been a few tweaks over the year, but nothing too much. So for the most part, if you get into it now, it's still pretty much the same as getting into it a year ago. Would I get it now? Yeah. Yes, absolutely, right? I mean, okay, so hold on. Let me rephrase that. Would I get it in probably 2 or 3 months from now? Yes, absolutely, because they're coming out with a new head strap, and I'm sure things are going to change at that point. So I'm expecting within the next probably 3 months or so, maybe a slight price drop, maybe the new accessories to be bundled with it. So if you're looking at this right now, I would wait until after a GDC. Hopefully, maybe somebody announces something at one point. If they don't, then it probably won't happen conceivably within the next at least 3 or 4 months after that. So hold off until GDC, but. Would I wait for a Vive 2? Unless they announce something at GDC that's happening within 6 months, I'd say nope, absolutely not. This thing is amazing as it is right now. And yeah, if you don't have one, if you have the room for it, if you can afford it, it is the single best entertainment, dollar to entertainment value that I know of. It is so much fun. It is so unique. The experiences that you can have for it are absolutely tremendous. And so, yeah, I would absolutely still buy it now, and I would absolutely recommend it to somebody else to still buy it now, or at least wait until after GDC in the next month and then buy it then. That's all I have on the Vive. Guys, thank you so much. This has been an absolutely amazing year. I've loved doing this, and it's because of you guys, right? And I don't mean you guys meaning the amount of people that are here, right? I mean the people that are commenting, for the people that are coming back from video to video to video, and that are responding on Twitter, that are giving me the encouragement to keep going. You guys are amazing. I have looked at other channels, both VR related, non-VR related, people that have less subscribers, more comments, less comments, and the one thing that I see in channel after channel after channel is the trolls and the negativity and just the nasty stuff. And while a few people find their way in here from time to time, it's few and far between. You guys are amazing. This is I legitimately have the best community, I think, on YouTube. You guys are amazing. So thank you so much. This has been so much fun, and I would not have been doing it if it weren't for you guys, the people that are in this video that keep on coming back from commenting. This has been great, so thank you so much. And that's it. Guys, as always, if you like this video, please hit the like button. If you don't like it, hit the downvote button and let me know how I can make these videos better. And if you want to see more, if you want me to come back over the next year, hit subscribe and the bell icon, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye-bye.